We're about to crack open a 3,000-year-old political thriller, one that's hidden inside one of the most famous stories you've probably ever heard. It's a story of incredible strategy, what looks like betrayal, and a brilliant power play that really changed the course of history. Okay, so let's set the scene. It's a moment of absolute crisis. King Saul of Israel and his heir Jonathan are both dead, killed in a massive, catastrophic battle. The entire nation is reeling. So where is David, the man who's supposed to be the next king? Well, he's not anywhere near the capital. He's actually living deep inside the territory of Israel's greatest enemy, the Philistines. So how in the world did that happen? And more importantly, what does he do now?
To really get what David does next, you first have to understand the political situation on the ground. You see, with Saul's death, Israel didn't just lose its king. Its entire command structure was wiped out, leaving this huge power vacuum right in the middle of a very, very dangerous neighborhood. On one side of the board, you've got the Philistines. They are, without a doubt, the regional superpower. They're armed with advanced Iron Age technology. We're talking superior metal for their weapons and chariots, and a highly organized military. And then, on the other side, you have Israel, a nation that's just been completely defeated, an army in tatters, still using older bronze weapons. The power imbalance here is just staggering. So this is where David makes his first move, and honestly, it seems to make no sense at all. For the last year, he's been living as a vassal to a Philistine king. Basically, he's on their payroll. You'd think he would either make a run for it or just lay low and wait, but nope, he does neither. Instead of sneaking out in the middle of the night, he publicly and formally asks for guidance on where to go. Now, this is not what a fugitive does. This is the calculated move of a leader, one who believes his departure is all part of a bigger, even sanctioned plan. And as you're about to see, he is definitely not going alone. We're not talking about David and a few of his buddies. He moves his entire community. That's 600 fighting men, plus all of their wives and their children. All told, you're looking at a migration of probably over 1,500 people, not to mention all their animals and possessions. This is a massive logistical undertaking. So let's be crystal clear here. You do not move an army and a small town's worth of people out of a superpower's territory without them noticing. An operation of this size could only happen with the Philistines' full knowledge and this is the important part, their permission. So the real question becomes, why on earth would they let him go? So David arrives in his homeland of Judah, and this is where the plot just thickens. He doesn't just march in and take over the whole country. No, what happens next is far more strategic and far messier. He sets up his capital in the city of Hebron, and his own tribe, the tribe of Judah, they anoint him as their king. But his authority is just regional. It's limited only to the south. Meanwhile, up in the north, what's left of Saul's old regime is making a move of its own. What this does is it creates a brand new political map, and Israel is now fractured right down the middle. In the south, you have King David, a popular leader anointed by his people. But up in the north, Saul's ambitious general, a man named Abner, installs Saul's surviving son Ishbosheth as a kind of puppet king. So now you have two thrones, two kings, and one nation that's literally tearing itself apart. This division, this is the absolute key to understanding the whole puzzle. It forces us to ask the most important question of all, the one that finally reveals the Philistines' secret strategy. It just seems insane, right? Why would you let your guy go and become the leader of an enemy nation, even a broken one? It makes zero sense. Until you find this one crucial piece of evidence, this one little detail that comes much, much later in the story. Okay, notice the very specific trigger here. The Philistines were totally fine with David being the king of Judah. For over 7 years, they leave him completely alone. But the moment, the literal moment, they hear that he's been anointed king over all of Israel, unifying both the north and the south, that's when they declare all-out war. The timing tells us everything. The only conclusion that makes any sense is that the Philistines didn't just permit David's return. They engineered it. They actually sent him there. But why? Because they were using David as a proxy ruler. This is a classic divide-and-conquer strategy, a playbook that powerful empires have used all throughout history. I mean, just look at it from the Philistine point of view. It's a genius move. They know the northern tribes are eventually going to rally around a new king. So instead of fighting another war, why not just manage the chaos? They send their guy, David, to control the powerful southern tribe of Judah. This keeps Israel permanently divided, weak, and fighting amongst themselves, and prevents them from ever uniting into a real threat.
All right, so now we see how this whole thing builds to David's ultimate victory. Because he didn't just play the part the Philistines wanted him to, he played the long game, and he turned their own strategy completely on its head.
This timeline is just fascinating. While the northern kingdom up there completely collapses into chaos in just 2 years, David spends 7.5 years patiently building his power in the south. He doesn't attack, he doesn't force anything, he just waits. So while it looked to everyone like he was just a Philistine puppet, this period was actually David's incubator. With the Philistines basically acting as his security detail, keeping foreign enemies away, he had years of peace to build a loyal following, set up a government, and train his army. This time wasn't a delay. It was a period of protected growth, all happening under the noses of his greatest enemy.
So what's the big takeaway here? David's time as a Philistine vassal wasn't a sign of betrayal or weakness. It was a masterclass in political maneuvering. He used his enemy's own strategy against them to create the perfect conditions for his own rise, turning what looked like a massive liability into his single greatest advantage.
And really, it leaves us with this final thought. David's story suggests that sometimes the most powerful move isn't the direct assault, but the patient game of chess, waiting for your opponent's kingdom to crumble on its own, while you quietly build your own strength. It's a question about the very nature of power that's just as relevant today as it was 3,000 years ago.